Having reviewed the evidence in this case, supported by the footage, and the uncooperative nature of Mr. Elliott, I'm satisfied it is more likely than not that the actions and activity of Mr. Elliott would cause harassment, alarm and distress to a reasonable person, including a police officer. No. All of you watching this, please do. If you remember the video, or if you haven't seen it yet, links are in the description. Please tell me if you think that by me questioning the police's use of non-existent legislation, of their bully tactics, of their threats, if you think that my reaction to that was just me being uncooperative, then please tell me in the description below. I think I was more than cooperative in the fact that I told them what I was doing and why I was doing it multiple times. But again, this officer who's written this letter fails to realise and to mention that. I've satisfied myself that this aspect of the offence was complete. I have then considered section 50 of the Police Reform Act, and having done so, remained satisfied that officers had a right to request the details of Mr. Elliott, as he was engaging in antisocial behaviour. Antisocial behaviour. Guys, if you've not signed on the change.org petition in the description below, if you've not done that yet, then you really need to do that, because if we allow this to happen, you could be out taking pictures or videos of your children or your partner, okay, and that alone will then give the police grounds to ask for your personal details. That is an invasion of your privacy. That is against human rights. It is unfair, absolutely fundamentally unfair on every single person. So if you haven't signed that change.org petition in the description below, please go and do that. Those details were requested numerous times. My voice is going together with an explanation as to why the details could be requested. Mr. Elliott refused to provide his details. At that point, the offence, breach of section 50 PRA 2002, was complete. Up until the point section 50 of Police Reform Act was mentioned, I did, rightly so, refuse to give my details. From the point section 50 was mentioned, from that point onwards, not once did I say, I'm not giving you my details. Not once. Yes, I didn't give my details, but I wasn't just standing there ignoring them. I was still interacting. I was trying to question their motives. I was trying to find out whether or not what they were doing was in fact legal for them to do. And I believe I have a right to do that. Why should I just accept somebody's word, whether they're wearing a uniform or not? I want to know the truth and whether what they are doing is right or not. But they wouldn't let me do that. Section 50 PRA 2002 empowers a constable to request the name and address of a person engaging in antisocial behaviour. Where that person fails to give their name and address, or the name and address is false or inaccurate, he/she commits an offence for which there is a power of arrest without a warrant. Having reviewed all the evidence in this case, I'm satisfied that the complaint does not meet the threshold where it can be upheld. The appeal is not upheld in relation to this point. Then the second part, where unnecessary application of handcuffs. Again, the dark text, the bold text is just a copy and paste of my brief's initial letter. It is down to an individual officer's own choice as to whether he/she decides to handcuff a detainee or not, as the case may be. There are no hard set rules set in legislation to determine the use of handcuffs. It is for the individual officer to make the decision and to document their rationale as to why they have applied handcuffs to a detainee. There are two forms of handcuffing: compliant and non-compliant. Compliant handcuffing may be used for transport or to assist in the search of an individual. Non-compliant handcuffing is used once an officer has gained control of an individual and is used to protect the officer and other people from harm, to enable safe transport to a custody suite, and to prevent the possibility of escape. That being the case, I think I would have been classed as a compliant. There was no reason for them to try and put handcuffs on me behind my back. I'd not been aggressive, I'd not pushed anybody, I'd not threatened anybody. And considering all they were going to do was transport me from there to the custody suite. Non-compliant is if they've had to chase somebody down, or they've had to tackle somebody, or somebody is being aggressive. I was none of those things. And to say that I was handcuffed under the non-compliant form is ridiculous. It is undisputed that Mr. Elliott was handcuffed. Having reviewed the evidence in this case, I'm satisfied that Constable Hunt gave his rationale for handcuffing Mr. Elliott as he was unknown to the police. Well, how many people are known to the police? You know, you stop somebody for a car search, you handcuff them in front in a stacked position. Do you know everybody that you pull over? Of course you don't. So not knowing somebody is no reason to handcuff them in a rear stacked position. He was of stocky build, and the officer felt that due to his demeanour and argumentative nature prior to his arrest, that he may pose a possible threat to himself and to his colleagues. That is outright outrageous. There was no indication whatsoever that I was going to be a threat to myself or to anybody. I was there on my own with a bag full of camera equipment. What did they think I was going to do? This is them trying to rationale their poor behaviour. They could not control their emotions in this situation. Therefore, they decided to take it out on me by handcuffing me incorrectly and with excessive force. I'm not stocky. Compared to PC Hunt, PC Hunt's way bigger than I am. And PC Williams is even bigger in height-wise. I was a midget. I was about as tall as the women police officers there. All the other police officers were taller than me. Apart from Hunt, I think he was about the same size as me, height-wise. But he was bigger. He was a fatty. So, whatever had happened, if he'd have sat on me, I'd have gone nowhere. Do you know what I mean? Because I was argumentative, that means I'm going to pose a threat to people. No, that's absolutely ridiculous. It is not disputed that Constable Hunt had started to take out handcuffs before the arrest was complete. It is not unusual to do so, nor do I believe the actions of the officer to be in any way devious or sinister. No, they're not. But I knew them handcuffs come out. I saw them handcuffs come out, and I knew that I was getting arrested. Why would I resist? Why would I do anything to give the police power over me in respect of, I already knew that they'd fucked up on, the terrorism thing. Nearly everything that they had done that evening, as far as I was concerned, whether I was right or wrong is neither here nor there, but as far as I was concerned, nearly everything that they had done on that evening was wrong and gave me grounds to complain. Why would I then give them something to try and demean my argument on everything else that had happened thus far? I wouldn't. If he'd have said, "Come on, Mr. Elliott," I'd have gone, "Yeah, go on then," and I'd have put my hands out for the handcuff. But no, again, this boils down to stroking ego. Indeed, having reviewed the evidence, I'm satisfied that the actions of the officer were merely preparatory in readiness for the application of the handcuffs once the arrest was complete, and after a decision had been made that Mr. Elliott was to be arrested and transported in a police vehicle to a custody suite. I've laid great weight into the body-worn video footage when assessing and evaluating the evidence in this case, and having done so, I'm satisfied that Mr. Elliott did not present as a compliant detainee. I'm not quite sure where the evidence of me being non-compliant is. I just don't see it. From reviewing the footage, I'm satisfied that Mr. Elliott does appear to resist when officers seek to apply the handcuffs. I'm going to show you exactly now, right here. I'm going to show you two very short clips, literally 10 seconds apiece, of the handcuffs going on. And you tell me if your body wouldn't have tensed up at this point either.
But it may harm your defence if you do not mention when questioned something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given evidence. That's being seized under section 19 apiece, as ever.
And now from a second angle.
I have not. Hold on, you can't turn it off. Yeah, we do.
It's being seized under section 19 apiece.
Did you see that bit? Comes round to my left hand side, grabs my arm, lifts it up, puts pressure on my arm and pushes me forward. You tell me if your body wouldn't have tensed up at that point because it was starting to hurt. and they're trying to express that as me being non-compliant. This action naturally results in him tensing up, making it difficult to apply the handcuffs without some force being used to ensure that they are correctly and safely applied. Well, they weren't correctly and safely applied. As I've shown you, if I try and put my hands behind my back, they get to about that far. I cannot get my hands like that, wrist over wrist. And seeing as the handcuffs are rigid now, it means the handcuffs were at that angle, digging in to my wrists. Any competent police officer would have seen that and should have fixed it, but they didn't. Having laid weight to the body-worn footage, I'm satisfied that the force used to apply the handcuffs was proportionate and necessary. Yeah. That was really proportionate for somebody who was literally standing there doing nothing. Having reviewed all the evidence in this case, I'm satisfied that the complaint does not meet the threshold where it can be upheld. The appeal is not upheld in relation to this point. The last part here is I'm satisfied the use of force to apply the handcuffs was proportionate, and I'm satisfied that the handcuffs were applied for no longer than was necessary. The whole point about the handcuffs being applied for longer than necessary was the fact that I was in that position and my arms were pulling apart behind my back because they weren't designed to go like that at the moment. I'm too fat for them to go like that. So they were like that and still pulling apart. My arms had to literally be pulled together in order to put the handcuffs on, and then as the officers let go of my arms, they would have sprung like that because of the fat I've got on me. And that's it. Do you know what I mean? But again, any competent police officer with any amount of time, any number of arrests that is made, would have seen that and would have compensated for that. Whether he'd put one handcuff on one hand, another set of handcuffs on the other, and then linked the two handcuffs together. Could have done that behind my back. That wouldn't have been a problem. But the fact that he only put one set of handcuffs on, and because I'm too fat to have handcuffs around my back, it hurt. It was unproportionate. So that's it. I mean, this is, absolute ridiculous. It's crazy. The amount of stuff that this police officer, whoever is this, let's have a look, see what his name is. Chief Superintendent P. Costello. You are an idiot. From the Complaint Appeals Unit, Professional Standards Department. So why is Professional Standards Department investigating Professional Standards Department? Maybe it's the same reason that the police Professional Standards Department investigate the police. Oh, they're all linked together. Isn't that strange? I ain't being funny, but number one, Professional Standards Department shouldn't exist. There is no impartiality at all. The only time police officers are actually dealt with through Professional Standards Department is if there is absolutely no question. And I mean, for example, you've got a video of a police officer punching somebody in the face several times. That kind of thing has to go through. There's no way that they can talk their way out of it. But something like my situation, what happened to me, everything has to be taken into account. The video evidence is there to show that what these people are saying is wrong. But what these people are saying, they're twisting it to a point where an idiot might go, well, actually, yeah, I can see that. When if you've got your eyes open and you're using your brain, I would say now, I would dare to bet that if this was put in front of a jury of 12 people, whether they like the idea of me taking photos or not, they could be they could be the type of people that don't like the idea of people taking photos in the street. But that's neither here nor there. What's important in this situation is whether or not the people at the time felt alarmed, harassed and distressed. Whether I was being annoying or creating a public order offence. because that seems to be in question as well. You know, whether or not I had given enough information to the police about what I was doing and why I was doing it, or whether I didn't. Whether or not I was compliant with the police or not. Whether or not I should have been handcuffed in the way that I was, with my arm twisted and bent and pushed down on to inflict pain, and whether or not I should have been arrested in the first place. I would dare to say that 12 peers would not come to that same conclusion that these police officers have. I think that, I know that this whole complaints procedure is corrupt. I will be speaking to my brief next week. It's Sunday now. It's Sunday the 8th of September. I'll be speaking to my brief at some point in the next few days to discuss where we go from here. I will, of course, keep you updated as and when I can with the information that I can. For the next 80 to 90 seconds, I'm going to be showing you one page at a time for 5 seconds of this entire document, so you can read, if you want to, every page in its entirety, because I have had to miss some bits out. But there is some interesting stuff as well, which you might pick up on as well as I did, that the idiots at PSD gave me. But there we go. I want to leave it for now. Thank you very much for your time. As I say, this is an update on my arrest back in February 2019. I'll keep you updated.
Good night, all.